Now, as usual, the forum, you have many, many ways to interact with us. Of course, you can always ask us questions, and we have right now 3 different venues inside the Shindig app to do this. So one is if you would like to come up on stage and join us, we have plenty of room for that. So just look in the very bottom right corner of your screen. Actually, you just moved this, right? We have a new change, so I'm glad we're doing this. On the bottom of the screen, we have a white strip that has a few different icons. One of them is a raised hand. So if you click on that, that will then tell us that you want to come on stage. So if your mic is working, your camera is working, and you're not in a public space or surrounded by lightning or howling crowds, please join us and click that, and you can talk with us live. Now, if you can't do that for whatever reason, but you still want to ask a question, click the question mark, the ask button, and then you can type in comments or questions, and we'll flash them on the screen. I'll read them out loud. If that's not enough, just click on the little text chat box. So that's on the left edge of the white strip. And that will pop up a little text chat for everybody who's in the room with you right now. So, for example, I'm surrounded virtually by Craig Lockwood, Ricardo, Gene Moses, Deborah Davis, Margot Sorrell, Brenda, Laurel, Julie, Greg Britton, Julie S. Keshang, Michael Cottam, Elaine Mello, Cassandra Martin, Paloma, Nick Petrilla, and Dion, half of whose names I've probably garbled. I apologize in advance. So you can use all those methods. And if that's not enough, go to Twitter and tweet at me, Brian Alexander, or use the hashtag FTTE. Now, before we get completely started, let me just quickly give you a little bit of background. This, again, is the Future Trends Forum. This is a product that comes out of my regular research, the Future Trends in Technology and Education Report, which is a monthly trends analysis that looks at developments in education and technology with an eye towards the future. We have a map now of about 83 trends that we track over time to help us get a better sense of where things are going. And again, we can only do this with the help of a lot of very generous supporters. So right now, they include NYSERNet in New York State, which helps bring colleges, museums, libraries, and universities online. We can also only do this with the help of Shindig, who, as you can tell, provides us with this fantastic technology, but also, in some ways, even more importantly, with the great people who help make it work. So that could be Ella or May, it could be Christopher or Tara. We're really grateful to them for all of that. And also, we're really grateful to the patrons who support us on Patreon. So if you haven't seen this, go to patreon.com/Brian Alexander. That's a place where people sign up to support us through a kind of subscription. Every amount that we can get is really, really appreciated. The more we get, the more we can do. And you can see there are dozens of people on there already. And if you sign to be a Patreon, we give you all kinds of special treats. So without any further ado, let's plunge into our guest. That sounds awkward. I don't want to plunge into it. Let's plunge into conversation right now. So we have a wonderful person right now who should be here on Twitter as well. We have Mr. Reinke. What should we call you, and what do you do? Where are you?
You can call me Scott, and I'm the coordinator for Ball State Achievements at Ball State University. Ball State Achievements is a mobile app that we designed at Ball State that uses gamification to engage students with the hopes of retaining them and helping them find more success at Ball State University.
Awesome. Now, is that all students, undergrads and grad students alike?
So currently, we're entering our 4th year. For the first 3 years, we were focusing on Pell Grant recipients because we had identified them as at risk.
Sure. What proportion of your students are Pell Grant, roughly?
Roughly about 1/3 of our students are Pell Grant recipients. Yeah. And we've seen great results so far. Our most current batch was about 10% higher with retention for app users that are Pell Grant recipients versus non-app users that are Pell Grant recipients. So because of that success, we're now going to open up the app to all incoming freshmen. So it'll be really interesting here in the fall to see how that all works out.
Well, that's fantastic. So on the one hand, you've got data analytics and mobile apps combined, and you have this idea of really targeting students to help them succeed.
Yep.
And you also now have scientific evidence because you have a control group, the Pell recipients who are not app users versus the experimental group, the ones who are. That's terrific. Good for you.
And I'm really excited too when you mentioned data. I've been working with our institutional effectiveness division over at Ball State, and I've kind of shared with them some of the timestamps and locations and things that we're capturing in the app with student activity, and they're super excited. They've been building out some different models to help us out. So I'm excited to be able to share those hopefully about this time next year or sooner.
Without compromising institutional policies, can you give us an example of how some of that data is useful? I mean, it's like a particular time of day when people access it, or certain parts of the app, or
yeah, I mean, a lot of it is, just knowing when like with the exploration achievements, knowing when students are getting out of their dorm and exploring and finding new things on campus.
Okay, so you have to back up. What's exploration achievements?
Oh, so in the Achievements app, there's all kinds of different small tasks and goals students can complete to earn bennies. And some of those achievements are, very low engagement, just meant to teach them about the university itself. So like an exploration achievement, they would just have to go to a location that might be a landmark, an instructional building, something like that, and just say that they were there. And a lot of students, when they first move into the dorm, say that helps them be less scared to stay in their dorm and learn their way around. And the landmarks are important because, a lot of times you walk into your first day of class, your group says, okay, we're going to meet at Frog Baby Fountain or something, and you don't necessarily know what that is.
Is that a real thing?
That is a real, Frog Baby, yeah. And so this shows them where it's at. It even gives them a short description of why it's relevant to them. And then other achievements, maybe like attending athletic events or meeting with your career coach, your academic advisor, studying at the library, really the whole gambit of things.
So this is all gamified in the app, so they get points and then they levels and other rewards and recognitions?
Yeah. There's so they receive bennies that they can use to buy real stuff from the Ball State Bookstore, Tech Store, and Rec Center. And then they also have avatars, so they can kind of customize their experience, as well as each achievement has its own individual badge that they can put on their brag board. We tried to limit it's not as much of a badging project, so to speak, but we do highlight that a little bit, where on their profile they have their avatar and they also have their brag board, so they can select 3 of the achievements they've earned and show those off to other people. Some students like to pick making the dean's list as an achievement they're really proud of. Some students like to put, you can earn an achievement for joining different student groups or attending different activities. So it's really interesting. Sometimes you can look at a student's profile and really get a great snapshot of who they are just from their brag board and their avatar.
I was going to ask you about gaming and gamification, but you've already answered me before I could ask about that. That sounds terrific. This is something you do full time.
Yeah, and that's a huge benefit I'm really thankful for at Ball State, is that they were able to say, a lot of times with projects like this, it ends up going on somebody else's plate. It's okay. I want you to take 10% of your time and run this entire program. But Ball State thankfully had the foresight to say, no, this needs to be tended to. This needs to be taken care of. And thankfully I was the person to be able to do that.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Well, and may I infer correctly that you came here to Campus Tech to speak about that?
Yeah, yep, absolutely.
Well, tell us what you done. Was it a workshop or was it a presentation? Or
I had both. I did so the workshop that I did on Monday was on player types and using gameful design. So that was mostly about. It wasn't necessarily about tactics and strategies of gamification, like learning, hey, here's how you do a badging project, or it was more about looking at your problems through the lens of a game designer, through the different lenses that game designers use. So seeing your users, your students, your employees as players, and trying to figure out what motivates them, and then building out your design based on that.
What's your player type?
My player type, I'm an explorer. I definitely think I'm an explorer.
What would you guess mine is?
Socializer?
Sometimes, yeah.
What would you say yours is?
Usually explorer.
Explorer.
I mean,
yeah.
I have these problems when I'll play games, and I'll ignore the purpose of the game. I'll enjoy the beauty and poke around at things, and then my kids yell at me because I'm missing the point. I play a war game, and I'll just be admiring the design of the armor and cavalry, and then the enemy overwhelms me. I'm like, oh shoot, come on! I was busy. Explorer. Right? But those are game player types. They reflect psychology and the way that we use media.
Yep.
And you want to apply this to how students use the campus.
Yep, absolutely.
How did the audience respond?
They liked it a lot. The goal. So last year I did a workshop, and I was very focused on having a deliverable. So I wanted them to create a prototype, and the goal was for them to walk out with a prototype. And what actually ended up happening was, I introduced these themes of game design and gamification to them, and they just wanted to talk the whole time, and they did. So we didn't really have deliverables.
So they were all the social type.
Yeah, yeah. And I thought, I was like, oh, I bombed. This is terrible. And when I talked to John Hess, he said, no, they loved it. They wanted to talk more. And so I talked with him about developing a workshop for this year and just focusing on starting those conversations, basically just facilitating those conversations, giving them a starter. And so that's why I wanted to introduce these concepts of player types, which sometimes people hadn't heard of it, I guess, in this light. A lot of people have heard of, Myers-Briggs and that kind of thing.
Sure, that's very popular.
But not with the focus on motivation. So, basically the whole workshop was I would introduce these concepts and have them apply it and talk with each other in small groups and kind of plot it on some diagrams and then share with the room.
Now, did you provide the diagrams or templates for them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have my, I could hold them up. I can show them to you here in a minute.
I'd love to see them when you get. But speaking of social, we had a question about this. And Ella, if you could flash it on the screen, please. This came from Susan Manning, and she asks, how do you, this is about your achievements. How do you know when they complete the experience? I may have missed that. For example, how do you know when they've been to Frog Baby Fountain?
Sure. So different achievements are earned in different ways. So with location and event-based achievements, we know through geolocation, just like Foursquare or something like that, that they were within that geofence, and then they claim the achievement. And if it's an event, then they would have to be there in a certain time. Other achievements are awarded through card swipes, like at the gym or at the library. When they swipe in, it's automatically awarded through library systems.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, and then still others are just awarded through university systems, like if they meet with their career coach, academic advisor, making the dean's list, improving their GPA, that sort of thing.
So you rely on, in some cases, third-party providers like Foursquare. In some cases, you rely on your own campus systems, like the library ones. In some cases, it relies on interaction with curriculum.
Well, we don't have the third party, so we're not doing it through Foursquare. I was just saying it's similar to Foursquare that they check in.
Yeah.
It's still, but yeah, we use our API to integrate with other systems that are already in use at Ball State. So that way we didn't have to build a card swipe infrastructure for the Achievements app. We just use, they use CS Gold over in the gym, so we've connected through that, through our API. So it just, feeds that data over to us. Yeah.
So this is all Ball State tech, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And that was what we wanted, we knew that when we were making the app, we didn't want to build this entire infrastructure around it. We just wanted to utilize what we already have at Ball State.
Makes sense. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. Thank you. And again, for the rest of you, if you have any questions, please feel free to submit them, again, using either the chat box or the raised hand to join us on stage, or the ask button. And now we're doing this live from the conference. So right now there are 7 people who thought I wasn't paying attention to them, and now they're looking at me with their eyes wide with terror. If you guys have any questions or so, just please either throw up your hand or walk on up. And now they're all embarrassed. This is so they're all. What's the opposite of an explorer or social type? What would you call them?
Killers or achievers?
They're probably killers.
Yeah,
they're a room full of killers. I understand. So this was your pre-conference workshop on Monday.
Yeah.
So you're applying gamer types, and have you written about this anywhere?
Not really. I need to.
Yeah, you should.
To it, yeah.
At least EduCause Review, or maybe the Campus Tech magazine. I mean,
yeah.
Oh, that sounds good, and people really responded.
Yeah, they seem to really like it and really apply it to some of their own issues and problems they're trying to solve. So
that's good. Great. And that was one thing you did here at the conference. And then you also had a presentation yesterday.
Yeah, we Tuesday.
It's a blur right now. I know.
It is. It really is. Yeah. It was kind of a panel session with 2 of my colleagues at Ball State in Student Affairs, and it was called "Making Meaningful Apps in Higher Education." And it was to highlight the Achievements app, as well as 2 other apps that we have at Ball State. And they both center around reporting and awareness of different things. So one is called Step In, Speak Up, and it's about sexual assault education, awareness, and reporting, and breaking bias at Ball State. And that, of course, is about reporting incidents of bias and also learning some of the differences between bias, discrimination, freedom of speech, et cetera.
That's a lot to put in one app.
Yeah.
I mean, so if you've got, assuming the first one is about the bystander effect, trying to help people get away from that and participate. How are these 2 working out?
They're working out well. And, the kind of the core aspect of our talk on making meaningful apps is trying to develop apps that aren't just utilities, but also kind of elicit a feeling, an existential feeling in a student. So the goal is that, if they get in a situation, they'll know what to do, but also helping them feel safer and feel represented.
How do you do that?
Well, we made them ourselves at Ball State. Kyle Parker, another colleague, he's been talking here, helped develop that with the help of the Digital Core.
The Digital Core? What is that?
The Digital Core? Okay, so the Digital Core is it's an on-campus job. I was actually a Digital Core student when I was at Ball State, as well as a graduate assistant. So the Digital Core uses a guild model. So you hire in as an apprentice, and you can hire in as an apprentice videographer, storyteller, designer, developer, and then you move up in the ranks of the Digital Core as a specialist or a master by acquiring industry standard certifications. So like the Adobe, Photoshop Associate certification, or some of the Final Cut certifications. I'm not sure if those are still around, but and so as you do that, you level up, I guess, in the guild, and then all the while you're working on projects with other people, so you're getting that experience of a real collaborative team.
So
and they actually help build, actually it is kind of gamification. And they actually almost entirely built the Achievements app as well. So the Achievements app was built primarily by students with the help of a couple professional developers that we have on staff as well.
That's neat. So, how did the audience respond?
They liked it a lot. They were interested. And we of course had the question of, can we license this at our school? Can we?
Sure.
And so we are working on that.
Oh, good.
So,
are you going to make them open source?
We were talking about that as well.
Very nice. If you can, just sometime today or tomorrow, depending on your time, if you could just tweet at me some URLs about this, I would love to share that with a bigger audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of bigger audience, we're going to have to shift to a couple of brilliant people who have more to say. But before that, I want to ask you, it's Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Thursday,
so you've been here all week. I'm just wondering, just reflecting back on your experience of the Campus Technology Conference, what are some of the themes and ideas that you've soaked up from presentations and hallway conversations and chats over meals and panels? What are some of the big themes that come at you from this conference?
Something that I've been noticing, and I think I told you before, I'm actually not in IT anymore. I'm in student affairs.
Right.
And something that I've been noticing at student affairs conferences is there's such a huge focus on IT. And I've been kind of taking that in and seeing all this technology. Yeah. And when I was here, the first thing I noticed when I was walking through the expo hall is how much it looks like a student affairs conference now. And I even noticed on some of their billboards and some of their advertising, it'll say information technology and student affairs. And those are starting to converge, I think, and I would love to see more of that.
Sure, me too.
Because I think, student affairs has the usability knowledge that IT, I think, desperately needs. And IT says, just like I was talking about with the data I've been capturing, IT is like, you have no idea what we can do with that. And then we can help explain what that data means.
Yeah. How to collect it, how to slice and dice it.
Yeah. I would love to see, in the coming years, a huge conference that's a combination of campus tech and NASPA, and, for student affairs and IT professionals. Hey, we should do it. Let's do it.
Thinking about
this.
Let's
put it together, and we'll have it in Muncie, Indiana. How about that?
That's a good place. We can call it ScottCon.
There you go.
You guys have heard it here first. This is a terrific idea. Yep. I think some of the trends that I've been following about demographics and finance, as we see the student body begin to shrink and enrollment beginning to tighten, it sounds like we're going to be competing ever more closely to retain these students.
Yep.
And also, as we have increased income inequality, you mentioned a third of your students are Pell Grant recipients.
Yep.
We also have first generation students. We have students who are veterans, students with learning disabilities. We're going to have to use more and more resources to attract, retain, and keep them close and make them successful.
Yep, absolutely.
I hate to say it, but I have to kick you off the table because we have other people here. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
What's your Twitter handle again?
At Scott Reinke.
Very good. Very good. Well, stick around the room if you can.
Sure.
And thank you so much.
Thank you.
So now we have to Ryan Alexander, your MC and cat herder, and we have two more guests. These are two fantastic people from Colgate University in upstate New York, and they have presented here at Campus Technology on some really extraordinary work they've been doing with digital video and learning. And I'd like them to introduce themselves, and if they could mostly say first what they do at Colgate, and I'm going to ask them what they presented on. So first, Kelly, what's your title right now?
My title is Instructional Designer.
Very good. Now, I don't know how many liberal arts colleges or universities now have instructional designers, or how many they have. So,
well, I'm one of 3, and excuse
good
me.
for Colgate.
We our positions have evolved. I came there as an instructional technologist, and our role is evolving into more of the design work.
Wow.
So.
Wow, that's terrific. When did you arrive at Colgate?
I've been there a year and a half.
Very good. Very good. So this is funny. When I talk to instructional designers and technologists in general, often their roles are churning quickly.
Yes.
And this is quite true. Sarah, what's your role there? What's your title?
I'm also an instructional designer at Colgate. I'm in my 13th year, and I also manage the Digital Learning and Media Center, which is our media lab.
That's in the library, right?
It's in the library.
Physically library. And who do you report to? What's your position in the structure of things?
We had, as Kelly mentioned, we are evolving.
Right.
Before last January, we were an academic technologies team. I think most people know what that is. And I was a senior instructional technologist. And we have recently morphed into a learning and applied innovation team. And our director, Jeff Nugent, has a co-appointment with the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Research. So we're in IT, and the instructional designers work with Jeff's team, but he also works with the Center of Teaching, Learning, and Research. So it's shifting a little bit.
What's the generic name for such a center? I've been trying to call them paracurricular centers, but is there another name to call them?
The Center for Teaching, Learning, and Research?
Yeah. A lot of campuses have one or more of these now.
It's like a professional development center for faculty. But ours also encompasses student, student resources. So students come as well. And the faculty piece is really only been for the last 3 years?
The last couple of years, it's really been growing.
So they're trying to grow that and develop the faculty development piece. And we have a small part of that.
Do you work with staff at all?
Not so much.
So it's mostly faculty and students.
Yes.
Mostly faculty and students. There's currently an open position at Colgate for a professional development coordinator, a training coordinator, to address some of the staff issues. Though I think they will work across the university as well, faculty, staff, and students. We're just a very small team. We're 3 people right now, and there are currently 2 openings.
Yes, we also have an opening for an instructional designer. Wouldn't you just
Get
love
on
to
Twitter
come
when
work
you get
with
a
us?
chance. Upstate New York is lovely, and Colgate is really, seriously, really extraordinary.
It's a great place to work.
How many students do you guys have right now? 1,800?
2,800.
2,800, excuse me. So you're a little unusually large for liberal arts world.
And 300 faculty.
That's very good.
I think 99% have PhDs.
Yeah.
So
yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah.
Very, very low. I think the faculty to student ratio is 15 to 1, and the average class size is like 18. So it's an intimate little place.
Well, let's talk about one aspect of that intimacy, which is your work with video. I mean, we know that video is enormously important in the world right now. People use it in all kinds of ways. In fact, it may be one of the most central technologies of our time. And Kelly, you were talking about using Lightboard.
Right.
Oh, I wish we brought a Lightboard with us.
That would be nice.
We can actually build one, right? It's not that hard.
They're a little unwieldy to transport.
Homeland Security doesn't look favorably upon them.
Yes, yes. What's hidden in that glass?
That's right.
So the Lightboard that we have, we did build. It's very big. It's
It's 4 by 8.
Yeah, thank you.
4 by 8 feet.
Well, I'm just assuming that not everyone knows what this is. So
right. So it's a piece of glass that's bordered by LED lights, the sapphire lights. So when the instructor is standing in front of the Lightboard, it's lit up, and they're writing with a pen that glows. So as we're filming the instructor teaching their lesson, we can virtually have all the lights off in the room, and whatever they're writing on this glass will light up. And we built it ourselves. We've been doing it for 2 semesters now. We have 3 faculty that are using it full time, recording most of their lectures on this.
What departments?
So we have a physics professor,
right.
We have a math professor, and computer science.
Very good.
So we're looking to grow it. We're looking to find other ways like humanities folks can use it, and it's been a lot of fun so far for me.
What's the big benefit for faculty for using Lightboard?
Well, there are many benefits, but our faculty feel that the concepts that they're teaching are very difficult and complex. And if they can craft mini lectures and deliver them to their students ahead of time, before class, they come in with a little bit more grounding and knowledge about the particular concept they'll be discussing that day.
It's a classroom idea.
It is. It is.
And it's also a resource for studying afterwards,
Right.
for review.
Students have really gravitated to it in the fact that they can study, they can rewind over concepts that may be difficult for them, and review. So yeah, it's been very good.
Why would, if I were a physicist or anybody, why would I use this instead of, say, making a video or just writing text up?
So our physics professor has been teaching for like 30 years and traditional lectures, writing on the blackboard. He has found that he's able to look at his students, so they get the visual cues of his teaching. It's a more natural style, and he can write all the concepts on the glass. He can also import images and graphs and PowerPoint slides, annotate them. So you're using technology to accomplish the same thing that you would in a traditional classroom writing on a blackboard.
So you have not just his writing, but also you can bring in a slide, an image, a graph, and he can annotate that.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like screen capture, except it's happening in physical space.
Yeah.
Well, that's terrific. And you were presenting on this yesterday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. And the audience seemed really excited by this. Like it's a very solid technology. It's not a speculative one, and you have a lot of experience with it.
Right. Yes, and in the room, out of what were there, maybe 100 people in the room?
Yeah.
There was only a handful that are using it now, but I think it will take off soon. And the fact that you can build your own makes it a lot scalable.
It's also an academic product. It was invented at where?
Northwestern here in Chicago. Michael Peshkin, physics professor, developed it.
I want to make a deep dish light board joke, but I really can't. I'll think of it later. I'll come back to it. But so that came out of academia. So it's not a corporate product,
right?
And it's also very DIY. So you can actually build this yourself. And then you said you made yours 4x8. You could play with dimensions and size.
And I think some smaller ones are now commercially available, more like a tabletop version.
Okay. So that we could sit here and do that.
Right.
So if you want to do that, if you didn't feel like building.
That's our goal. We hope to, number one, create a situation where a faculty member can come in to our area where we have the light board, the recording studio, and push a button, do their lesson, and then have it upload right to our Moodle LMS. Right now we do some post-production, and there is some hand-holding, but we hope to automate the process soon, and also to maybe get some more light boards that are smaller that faculty can bring into their office and record on their own.
Do they have to do it in your center right now?
Yes, in our recording studio in our library.
Oh, that's great.
Because that 4x8 foot glass is just too heavy to carry.
Well, especially in January going across the city, a little tricky to get around. This is terrific. And for resources about this, you said that the 7 things you need to know about Lightboard document was really good.
It's excellent, yes.
Good.
Yes.
And the Lightboard email is, I find, very useful.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a lot of peer support about that.
Absolutely.
That's terrific. Well, please, I want to keep asking you questions, but I want to bring in your colleague.
Absolutely.
And so you both are presenting on I think you call the 2 sides of video coin for
2 sides of the digital literacy coin.
Because you were describing one use of video, and then you're describing not just video, but also the whole production process. And I have to say, I had the benefit of having you in my Monday afternoon workshop on digital storytelling. So I got to interrogate you and take advantage of all of your work about this. So you've been shepherding a video production project across Colgate University. You said, like, if I get this wrong, you're like 400 students a year get to participate in this?
I work with between 16 and 18 faculty every semester.
Right.
So 16 to 18 courses, between 300 and 400 students each semester.
So in
working
a year,
on digital,
600.
Yeah, working on digital video projects. We've done, I think, about 1,700 projects in the last 7 years.
1,700
at
projects.
Colgate, and of a variety, from the digital storytelling version to mini documentaries and reports. It's very popular, and I think what really made it that way is that, like Scott mentioned, that Ball State was supportive of, instead of building something and sort of passing it off, Colgate is putting resources behind this project. They built a lab, which is wonderful. but they also put a professional, myself, and a staff of 15 highly trained students. So there's
student work
help
is very
7
good.
days a week. We are open 12 hours a day, 7 days a week.
That's
So if a
fantastic.
student is struggling, there is a place to go and there's
Oh.
help. So I think that really is the crucial thing.
People can come in, so this is a good role for the library. But let me just say, we have Michelle Cartier. Michelle, if I've mispronounced your name, please forgive me. I think I got the Michelle part correct.
Okay, it's
Katie. And what
actually.
question do you have?
Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I guess I have a question for you, not so much for the instructional designers, but a question for you. We're looking at the KOI model. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's a model that works for enhancing online learning, and it deals with teacher presence and social presence and cognitive presence and emotional presence, and bringing that forward into our online learning. And so this last year, we've really worked on teacher presence, and we've developed a whole checklist of different items that we're using in order to enhance that teacher presence and the connection that the teacher has in the course to make them feel. And many of the things these ladies are talking about with the light boards and that type of thing, those are all important pieces, because we know that students are wanting to be able to see their teachers. They don't want to go to a Khan Academy and watch a video, right? So some of the questions I have would be like, we're journeying into the social presence piece this year, and we were wondering if you know, with your background with Moodle and everything that you have, if there are any types of pieces that you would highly recommend, different types of plugins or different types of add-ons that we could add to our Moodle setting to enhance what we're doing.
Michelle, this is a terrific thing to ask. And let me just quickly ask you a few questions.
Sure.
First, where are you? What institution?
Actually, we're St. Gabriel Online Learning Center, and we're in Alberta. So yeah, excellent. So we're working. We're using the KOI model, which was developed out of Athabasca University in Canada here. Yes. So we're really trying to push things ahead, but we're more of a K-12 organization.
Understood. How far are you from Red Deer?
We are in Red Deer.
Oh, fantastic. I was just at Red Deer College a couple of years ago. Great place.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you one more question, which is you're using Moodle, and you have you've been using this KOI model. How do you spell this? Is it COY or KOI?
It's COI. Yeah. Community of Inquiry Model is what it's called.
Oh, very good. Very good. Well, let me first ask my guests what answers they would have. I mean, I'm thinking in part of the emotional power of video that you know so well, and also what you're describing of the importance of using Lightboard, of having the instructor actually look through the Lightboard at the learners over time. What would you recommend to Michelle that she should add for her classes? While you're thinking about that, hang on one second. Scott, if you have a chance, if there's anything you want to add in terms of, based on the other two apps that Ball State developed that were specifically aimed at increasing presence, if you want to chime in, either on text or if you want to just shout at me or come right around. just take a minute to think about this. Please, what would you suggest for Michelle?
Well, from my perspective, I don't work with Moodle and we don't do any distance learning. I'm just having a little bit of trouble wrapping around.
But you do
what I do.
You do mixed learning or hybrid learning, that students will engage with your videos outside of class.
Well, from the teacher created, again, my part was the students as producers part of it, but I think maybe from Kelly's perspective, with the faculty creating content.
So
start with her.
Let me rephrase your question. You're asking what kind of social learning plugins are available in Moodle? Is that what I hear you asking?
Well, this is a very interesting model because it's all kind of intertwined into a kind of a Venn diagram. They all kind of immerse into each other, right? So through the social media or the social presence that we have. So social presence being how students feel that they are part of the class, they are connected with other students, they're connected with the teacher, they're connected with experts around the world, they're gaining knowledge. How are there any other pieces that you know or you can identify, like other than using of Twitter or Facebook, or we use things like VoiceThread right now so that the kids can communicate with each other and they can take video and add that. We've used Padlets. There's a whole bunch of different types of pieces that we've embedded, but I'm just wondering if Moodle has anything extra over and above that, other than discussion boards and discussion forums and other things like that we could intertwine or that we're missing out on, or if there are some other fabulous Web 2.0 tools that we don't know about.
That's a very good question. It's difficult for us to answer that because we are a traditional face-to-face institution, and we aren't really using these tools, but we did just start using VoiceThread as well. We have a Russian studies professor that is using VoiceThread for video and for his students to speak in Russian with each other, but they see each other in class every day too. So we haven't really delved into this aspect that you're asking about.
But the VoiceThread is the outreach for student work. I mean, it's a great storytelling tool. It really kids of any ages can really build up stories very, very quickly with it. If I could, let me just pull a couple of things out. In terms of video production, you might want to think about using Lightboard because it has that. It feels like the class experience, and because of the position of the camera and the glass and the instructor, it also has that sense of immediacy where you get the sense of being able to, the instructor is looking at you as they show you, a Hirschsprung-Russell diagram or whatever. The other is that both, especially that you have with video production, having students make stuff is tremendous for digital literacy, but it's also for their voice and their presence.
Yes.
And I think it could be as little as making a VoiceThread response. If you haven't used VoiceThread, I strongly recommend it. But you can annotate any content using multiple media tools. So you can annotate with text, you can annotate with audio, you can just quickly record a video right there in the box. But I think also making a video using whatever tool, WeVideo, Final Cut, because you're awesome that way, is a way for the students to feel immersed in the class, immersed in the production, and to share that with their colleagues, be them 5th graders or 9th graders. I think that sounds like a very powerful idea. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we're definitely we're on that track. Kids are creating and producing because we're trying to hit that higher level SAMR model, where they're actually into the top levels of blooms. But when I get up to the top levels of blooms and we're talking, when we're getting into the creation stage and the synthesis evaluation stage, really VoiceThread, there aren't a lot of really great tools up at the top of the SAMR model that we have been able to experience. I'm just wondering, do you guys have any super tools other than VoiceThread? Because VoiceThread is, definitely one of the best. But
have you looked into game production at all?
Well, we are getting into some gamification with badging. We've got a couple courses developed like that. But do you have anything specific there?
There are tons of tools for making games, everything from Inform 7 to using a Game Maker, for example. Again, it depends on the age of your student and how much time you have. So, did you want to chime in with any lessons from yours?
So, I guess not from the apps in particular, but just in general. I think a part of gameful design, and it sounds like she's trying to have more engagement with students. Yeah. Correct, like having them engage with each other.
Yes.
A big part of games is that they give people agency by making their decisions matter.
Right.
Choices matter.
Right.
So I think a good way, kind of a low-tech way, is just to, have some of those conversations and show determinants, highlight what people say, respond to it, have polls, have contests. I don't think you necessarily have to create a gamified virtual world or anything like that, but just more responsiveness and kind of create that atmosphere.
Michelle, can you hear Scott okay?
Just a little bit, yeah. More of a gamified response rather than creating games, is he saying?
Yeah, or you create a game of some level, but the technological level can really vary depending on how much time you have and your resources. But the idea of giving students agency within the game and then giving them different choices to make and responses. If I'm getting you correctly.
Yeah,
that sounds really powerful.
So now would you use that lesson tool in Moodle to do that then? So that you can differentiate and go on different tracks?
I think you could.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that would be appropriate.
Because you guys are Moodle campus as well.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. We've done some gaming with some of our courses. We have a real unique course here. It's kind of a Chrome Academy course where you actually learn info processing. And we've created a storyline with that, with medieval literature piece. And
nice.
the student has to teleport back into time and do all these tasks in order to, win the treasure or get the treasure. And so as the student progresses through, then they get the badging pieces, which is kind of a neat thing. And at the end, they receive a Chromebook to help them with their learning. So that's kind of nice.
Makes me want to be a student there.
Right.
Yeah.
Michelle, we need to move on because I'm conscious of time. But let me just mention one more person to look at, which is Christopher Fee at Gettysburg College, who used a lot of games for teaching his medieval literature class. Fee as in Fee 5 font, I'm afraid. Let me just ask you too, and then first, thank you for answering the question. But let me ask you, what are the leading couple of themes that have come up to you in your week here at Campus Technology? I mean, talking to people over lunch, meeting people in sessions and in hallways, hearing presentations. What are a couple of the big topics that loom largest for you?
Okay, I'll start. Digital storytelling continues to be a focus, even though it's not new. And I think that was one of the points that we wanted to make from your pre-conference session to an excellent session that we attended about multimedia and different things yesterday, which was great fun. Shout out to the people in the audience there. To a couple of sessions, hours, and another one that speaker's going to be coming in a minute, that digital storytelling is powerful. And even though it's not new tech, the way we're using it for students with their learning, it continues to be of interest to people and continues to be effective.
Excellent. We should probably resume. We should do a session on digital storytelling, I think.
I would love to do that.
Absolutely.
I'd love to be involved with that.
How about you, Karen?
So I did a pre-conference workshop on faculty development, Gardner Campbell, and it was excellent.
Oh, great.
It was very participatory. A lot of people in the room have been doing faculty development for a long time. So we had some very good conversations about common issues and common, concerns. Even though this faculty development has been going on for a long time, there are still things that we find challenging. So that was very helpful to me. I would also say that I've attended several workshops that incorporate video into teaching and learning, and that seems, again, video has been used for a long time, but it's still very effective, and it's evolving with the tools and with students. The effectiveness of student learning. It's very important. So that's been great.
A friend of mine likes to say, "Video is the new paper."
Yes.
It drives me crazy, but I can't now think of it. We have another guest, and I want to thank you two so much. Please stick around.
Thank you very much.
It was great seeing both of you, and I'm a really big fan of your work.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
So much. Campus Technology Conference. This is the live Future Trends Forum, where people are asking us questions, and we're working with guests here who are knowledgeable experts who are doing terrific work. And I just want to welcome Professor Diala-Ogamba. I'm trying very hard. I know your students have to struggle with this as well. But thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Tell us where you teach and what you do.
I teach at Coppin State University, Baltimore, Maryland. And I teach English and world literature.
Oh, fantastic. Just so you know, this is my background. I'm a recovering English professor. So I just envy your work very much. And what did you present on here?
I presented on using digital story as a strategy to enhance my face-to-face class and my online class.
Terrific. And can you speak a bit about how that works? So first of all, in the face-to-face class, what kind of work do you have your students do? Do they make digital stories, or do you make them, or what?
Because in my classes, I teach English, and I expect them to write a lot.
Yes.
And they are going to be writing based on the books we are reading. And I found out that they are really not engaging. They are not engaging with the teacher, with the text, and with one another. for my online class, they don't even engage again when I put something on the discussion board. So I now thought about a solution, and I thought about using digital story, even though it's not new, but I haven't used it the way I've used it this time in my class.
How did you use it?
So I went back and read more about story telling. And then I said, okay, even though it's called storytelling, it's not simple, but it will help them become engaged in class, and it will help them move further. It will help them in their writing, and it will help them think about the process of writing their research paper. So I can come up with exactly what I want them to do in the research paper. It's easy for them to write like a paragraph. It's easy for them to write a one-page paper. But when you ask them to write 5, 6, 7 to 10 pages, they are lost. I lose students, and assignments are not complete. And then I said, okay, digital storytelling will help. How did I use it? I went through the process, told them what we're going to be achieving at the end. And so both my face-to-face students and my online students. My online students will have integrity software that I can record and tell them exactly what's going on. And so I told them about it, and I told them the process. I showed them samples
of other stories,
of the stories, and showed them a sample of the one I created. It is really not the best, but that's fine. Yeah. So, but at least they understood what's going on and what I was expecting them to do. So I put them in groups. I told them to get together in groups.
3?
In groups of 4. So to create, because we are using subjects, and I told them to pick, we have 2 short stories, 3 short stories. I told them to pick 1 short story, the groups each.
Which stories?
I have Ramayana short, is an Indian work.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And I have another short story by a Chinese, different stories. So they picked the ones they liked. And then because I intended to use it for something else, and I said, recreate that story and make it yours. Look at the characters, read and find out what is going on, then make some changes and make it your story. So before they are able to make it their story, they would have read it. If they don't finish reading it, they can make it their story.
Nice.
So now that will get them to thinking and reading. And so once they have come out with their own stories, someone will be thinking about the music. So that will go with the background music. Someone will be thinking about the pictures. I give them information of where to get pictures. And then someone will be thinking about the software to use. And there are tons of software out there that you can use for recording. But you have to think about, go through them and find out the ones that you're not going to pay. Some of them, like Spring Customatic, if you use for more than 30 minutes, 15 minutes, you have to start paying. So students really don't want to spend their money on such things, so they have to now look for the kinds of software they use. So some of them use iMovie, some of them use Spring Customatic, some of them use YouTube. So there are tons of software there. So when they created their stories, they will provide a link, and they will ask them to store it, give them a choice of where to store. They store, and then they create a link, which they will post to me, and then I'll listen. But for my face-to-face students, I wanted them to see what the others have done. So once they posted it, I had to come to class and then click on their stories, and we looked at them and we critiqued the stories together in class. And then I gave them a survey to find out how they did.
Was it anonymous or signed?
No, it was an anonymous survey. I posted it on Google. I got it on Google Forms and posted it on Blackboard for both classes. So they went in there at their own time and did the survey. But it was encouraging to find out that 61% of them found it engaging.
Good.
And about that, 50-something found it useful. It made them help them understand the text, and that was what I was really heading for.
That was the pedagogy from the
That
beginning.
engagement and that understanding of the text. You know, if you're reading English text, you have all kinds of emotions. It can be sad, it can be angry, it can be depending on what you're reading. So I want them to feel that too. And then that will help them to write their research paper.
Yes.
Create their own outline. When it comes to writing, they now go as individuals to now start creating their research paper based on what they have read.
Does it help them write their research paper because of the emotional engagement?
No, it helps them write the research paper because now they have understood the story. They have read the content. Because if the students do not read the text, what are they going to be writing about? They can't write about it.
Exactly.
So that was what I was really looking for. And that's why I'm going to be using it next semester for my class. Because I learned some lessons too. I learned that I was going to ask them to focus on copyright and compliance. And I was going to tell them the kinds of pictures to use. It shouldn't be glossy, it should be high quality pictures. And I learned that I will need to create a more detailed rubric and assign points to all these things that they are doing. You know, so those are some of the lessons I learned, which I'm going to put in place in my syllabus next. So.
Pause for a second. Let me just remind everybody that if you have questions or comments, again, to use either any of the technologies within Shindig, or to use Twitter, or to those of us who are still in the room here to ask questions, because people are following closely. So again, questions or comments about Blessing's work with digital storytelling. In fact, we had, well, I have a ton of questions, of course. But one was, I wanted to ask you, how did people respond to your presentation here at the conference?
Oh, I was really surprised. They liked it. At least they stayed till the end.
Well,
if you don't like anything,
people will run out.
If you don't like anything, you'll run out. So, but at least they stayed till the end. They asked questions too, and some of them actually came to me to say that they were going to use it.
Oh, excellent!
Yes.
Excellent.
So,
what were they interested in? What got them about this?
The two of them teach English, and they want the students to be engaged. They want students to talk about the work that they are reading.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what they really want.
Well, that's terrific. And let me ask, at Coppin, what kind of support did you get for digital story? That is, did the IT staff come in and help train students, or did they provide technology, or was this entirely on you, what you did with your students?
They are going to be doing that now, but for this one, this is my first time of starting it. The IT, when I finished with my outline and everything I needed to do, they were there to support me to do the survey and everything, help me, asked me exactly what I was looking for, and I gave them the information and for them to run. And then we're creating this studio, which is IT is doing the studio, and it will be ready before the beginning of fall. And so they have asked me to bring my students there so that they can record there, because I needed them to record in a quiet place.
Yes.
So they will record there, and we can also move it to. They're asking me to move it to video.
Audio is so important.
But audio is so important. So that's why they're creating this studio.
There are many.
So the IT is helping.
An anthropologist I know in upstate New York had this exercise where he would have his students close their eyes and stay in a room and listen to the sound in the room for 2 minutes. And they go, this is boring. And then they start picking out the different sounds. You hear traffic outside, sound of lights, of HVAC playing. Then he had them walk around campus and do different places to pause just to soak up the sound so they can pick it out. It really just changes the way you think about it. So, do you have you used WeVideo?
I have not used WeVideo, but my IT was suggesting that I should try WeVideo.
It's really good.
Okay.
It's kind of like almost like iMovie, almost like a Windows Movie Maker, and it lives in a browser. And the nice thing is, students can share it with each other if they're not physically co-located, so they can all work on the same project.
Okay, that's good.
Yes, that's one thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that.
A video is really, really powerful and has a lot of different options. Let me ask another question. You were here for the whole week at this conference. What are the themes and topics that struck you That came up in conversations, that came up in meetings and presentations and panels. What caught your attention?
Because I was really focused on the digital story.
Yes.
Your session was very helpful.
Thank you.
And I'm going to look at it again. And the session presented by my colleagues who just left, I love that. And I'm going to look at it again to see what they are doing with the video.
Yes.
Yes. So that's why I mentioned the video. I'm going to look at it more. And those were the exact two things, but I was expecting more of other ways that I can explore apart from using the video and using digital storytelling. So probably when I go back to look at all the ones that I didn't attend, there are so many sessions. So
you can only go one at a time.
you can do one at a time. So
there's a lot of technology.
But it looks like the storytelling is now coming back and people are using it in different ways. So I also have to find out different ways to use it.
Where do you see your digital storytelling work changing over the next year? What are some new things you want to try out?
With the digital story?
Yeah.
I'm going to be teaching children's literature again next semester.
Oh, perfect.
And then the students will have to create it. I usually assign them work to write, to create their own story. But we haven't done it in the form of digital story. But next semester, that's what we're going to be doing.
That's great.
And then we'll have the studio to record with. The studio will be ready by then. So that will be really awesome. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, it's remarkable. For just children's stories, that's just that's a natural. But then also having you as the faculty member with your students working with that studio.
Yeah.
That's terrific. Friends, I hate to bring this to an end, but we're at the end of our hour. We have a couple of questions still coming up. Why don't you come on up and address these before we have to end for the session? Why don't you go ahead? From Colgate, who had questions that people wanted to ask them. So Ella, if you could bring up a couple of these questions, that would be good. And these are, I think, text questions, so I can read them out loud and we flash them on the screen. So first, from Susan Manning, she asks, for Sarah K., please perhaps reflect on your experience as a student to answer that question about presence in video.
Okay, I can actually answer this really well because I am currently enrolled in the UW Stout certificate for instructional design. Susan is my professor.
Oh,
so it's like she's a plant, but yes. I have to tell you,
I don't know anything about this. This is great.
In the first course that I completed, which I really enjoyed, but there was no visual presence at all. There was typing, there was discussion boards, there was messaging. Susan works her class differently, and she posts videos, short, 2-3 minutes. Instead of just writing the introduction, she uses a lot of video. I really appreciate that from the student standpoint, talking about the connection between the faculty member and the students, and she also leaves audio feedback. So from our discussion board, from our work, instead of reading her notes, she's leaving us audio feedback.
How does she do that? Is it
I am honestly not sure what she's using, but I just click on it and I hear her voice and I am seeing her face on her videos, and I think it's a much better connection. And hey, thanks for chiming in. Appreciate that. But I think it matters.
It does.
I think it makes the course much easier to relate to.
Video is the new paper.
Yes, it is the new paper.
Like that.
That makes a big difference. That's a really good question. Thank you. Thank you. And even if it was a plant, but it wasn't for me, I'm really glad to see that connection.
It's real. I had mentioned that to her, that I really appreciated her use of video.
Well, we have one more question. And if we could put that up on the screen. This is Roxanne. Hello, Roxanne. She recommends Flipgrid as a video tool in social learning to look at. Have you used Flipgrid?
I have not. I've heard of it, but I have not used it.
Oh, it's new.
How is she using it?
Tell us about this, Roxanne. If your camera works, if you can join us up on the stage, or if you could type a quick note. She mentioned this in a discussion box, and Dion replied that she loves Flipgrid. Faculty have wonderful use of the tool. The only downside is the lack of single sign-in with Blackboard. I think we've got Roxanne on stage right now.
Hello.
Hi, Roxanne. Good to see you.
Hi, Ryan. Thank you for inviting me up. Flipgrid is coming out of beta, I believe, right currently, and is used mostly in the K through 12 education areas. But you can pose a question. It's excellent for storytelling. I actually recorded a Flipgrid. You can use any device and interact with social and be able to create your formative evaluations using it as well. The downside is it's limited in your time recording to, I think, 1:30 seconds, so a minute and a half. So students really have to record quickly. They could show their musical piece, an art piece, anything that you pose, a question. You can design it. There's endless possibilities using Flipgrid, and it shows up like a kind of like a shindig platform and little Brady Bunch tiles, and you could lock it down. So it's something you should really look at. It's innovative. I don't know how you would probably just be able to link it into Moodle. That's what I'm imagining. I don't work with Moodle right now. Thank you.
We had somebody said that there was an issue with integrating with Blackboard, but maybe it's easier to do this with Moodle. Roxanne, thank you. That is so helpful. And that's one of the things I love about the forum is that we get to learn collaboratively. And this is going to be great because we're going to skip the next session and play this Flipgrid. No. Thank you so much, Roxanne. And we have one more question. Please.
What tech are you finding most valuable to support your face-to-face class?
So the question was, what tech are you finding most valuable to support your face-to-face classes? Remember that Colgate is entirely a face-to-face traditional bricks and mortar institution. So what tech would you say?
Well, I have to say our LMS, believe it or not. We are a traditional face-to-face. Yes, Moodle. Yeah, we are traditional face-to-face, but 67% of our faculty are currently using Moodle in all sorts of different ways. So our students really appreciate the fact that all their course materials are online, and their discussion boards are very active, even though it is in a classroom setting.
No, that's great. Thank you. Thank you. Did you see our session last week with Martin Dugumas?
Yes, that was wonderful.
So this is a shout out to Martin right there.
Yes, I really enjoyed that.
For me, you guys are definitely rock stars with what you're doing with video.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Did you want to add anything more for that technology question? Or
No, I think so. I think Kelly supports a much broader cross of the university because she does support our Moodle LMS. And the work I do is with 15 or so faculty each semester, so it's definitely more limited.
Well, thank you. That's a terrific question and a rich answer. Let me thank everybody for coming. And this is great. I have to thank different audiences. I have to thank the people who were in this room, including Christopher, who did a fantastic job producing this. I have to thank our guests who've been racing back and forth and being interrogated by me. I have to thank the online people from multiple countries who have helped us learn. And I have to thank, of course, Campus Technology for letting us come here and enjoy and learn so much. So next week, we'll be back with another forum, another guest. In the meantime, thank you so much for your attention. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.